will, but I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. It says unlisted. What the fuck? Alright. Settings. What is this? Drawer. What is this? Streaming platform. Drawer on top. Chat. Move chat to right side. Okay, fade bottom bar. I don't know what that is. Alright, well, let's see. Events. Okay. Alert profiles. What is that? No. Editor. Let's see. What is this? Showing on stream. What is that? No, hidden. I don't know. I do not know what the hell I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't at all. I don't even know if anybody's here, because I can't see the bloody thing. Alert profiles. Oh, wait a sec. Okay. Now I know what to do. All right, next we are going to make this public. There we go. Yes. I sure do hope. Wait a minute. I sure do hope that some people will come now. It's public. Thank fucking God. But I guess we'll see. This phone's gonna die. Well, let's see if anybody's coming up. Nobody's coming. Nobody's come yet. What is this? Don't know about that. Hello there, Guntik. How are you doing? I finally figured this thing out. Apparently, hello Ahab from the high seas, yes. I finally have figured this bloody thing out. Apparently, I didn't make it public the first time round, which is why I suppose nobody showed up for like 40 minutes for the first attempt of it. But anyhow, I'm here, and yeah, I figured we'd go for about maybe an hour and a half or so, 5:30 or 6:30, 7, something like that. And I guess we'll see what happens. I suppose now, I guess I'll read you a little story. I'm debating whether I should read one that I have published on the school newspaper. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but either way, let's hope this works. But yeah, I have a couple stories here. I have some that have been written and published on my school newspaper back in the day. And I have one here that is in this little notebook that I read from in the previous live stream from last year. So I'm not sure which one you want to hear first, so I guess I will have to see. Okay, I guess I'll go with this one. It's very short. Let's get some light in here. There we go. It's not too bright, is it? Okay. Well. Alright, so, oh, by the way, if you haven't noticed, right over there, that's an eagle, and that says Screech Count. Don't think that I forgot the last stream. If any of you happen to hear any screeches whatsoever, let me know, because I have turned off notifications. But hopefully we can get through this one without any screeches. Otherwise, I'm gonna put a little mark there every time you do hear a screech. But anyhow, we'll see. This phone's gonna die. It's at 52%. Jesus. Yeah, I thought you'd like that. So yeah, okay. So we'll just read this story here and hopefully wait for more people to come. I'm sure there is, but hopefully there won't be, because I don't know, we'll see. Anyway, this story is very short. It's only about that long. It's only a paragraph. And it's called Self-Portrait. It's a bit of a, I suppose, a take on what is called phone zombies, in, I guess, by you guys, and in just in the general sense. So anyway, this is actually one of the first stories well, not the first, but one of the first stories I've written. Yeah, I suppose we'll have to wait and see how you like it. So yeah. Self-Portrait. An American girl had received for her 13th birthday a new and gaudy mobile phone. Ah, yes, indeed. There's nothing that I hate more, indeed. Her exultation was beyond containment. Numberless friends of hers possessed them, and for the longest time she remained an uncultured nonentity. Now, on the day that she was given up to youth, she could, in this 21st century, communicate with her comrades in the way that befitted the times, over that miraculous format called SM. She soon after acquired an SM account upon the site Immediate Satiation, I believe, and thought the best thing to do in order to prove her existence to her boundless quantity of friends was to take a self-portrait and put it up on her account. So the American girl drove all the way out to the Grand Canyon, perfect setting for her self-portrait, and stood upon the most precarious precipice, her back facing the deep gorge behind, and her fatuous face looking up at the mobile phone held in her outstretched arm. She made something of a kittenish expression, prepared to take the photograph. But as she snapped the picture, her head erupted in a tossle of blood and brain matter, and down into the canyon she came careening, the mobile phone in tow. The self-portrait was soon seen by all the girl's friends on Immediate Satiation, and when they regarded the perfectly scarifying image of her head's horrible explosion, they followed the trend and did the same. You can read that a whole bunch of different ways. I just realized that that ending has double meaning. I think. I don't know of anybody who does think that, but either way, yeah. So that was that story, Self-Portrait. Wonderful. Yeah, I wrote like a whole series of these stories. I used to call them unmediated stories because, well, I'm not using the proper term, the proper definition of mediated, but I I basically use it to to say that you are influenced by social media. Unmediated being that you have rid it utterly from your life. And I wrote a whole bunch of, well, kind of badly written now short stories about the people who, I suppose, are bedeviled and are evidently liberated. Ah, yes, indeed. I haven't read Cell yet. I mean, I haven't read much of King really. Like I said, I read a few of his short stories, but yeah, I see what you did there. I do know the basic story of Cell and such, and yeah. So anyway, I guess now I can read one of these school stories. Uh, Man, I'm just really. What age did I start writing? That's a good question. I believe it was about 13. That was back when I had discovered that I had loved reading. And the first book, as you know, that I had actually read, read because I didn't read very much in the days of yore, was actually Conan Doyle's The Lost World, in this collection of the complete Challenger, Professor Challenger stories, that is. And basically, I had loved it so much that I decided, this is a very stupid thing, I don't recommend this, to rewrite the story and sort of make it my own. And let me tell you, it was horrendous. That novel had everything in it, from like every different film version of The Lost World. It even had elements from the TV series back in the early 2000s, early O's, and all that. And this is how stupid it was. It had the Howls from Gilligan's Island in there, the mongoose Rikki Tikki Tavi from the Rudyard Kipling story. Yes, it had apes, and in fact, they were modeled after I believe they were a higher form of Maya in the film Apocalypto. So they would be ultra violent. And also, this book had Alf in there too. Yes, indeed. And it's just horrible. It's a good thing that I lost that thing. Did I mention that it had Alf in it as the professor? I know it was stupid, very stupid. It's a good thing I didn't go through with that. Yes, indeed. Well, I don't know about that, but probably some hearts were ripped out. Well, I don't know really what happened to the manuscript. I suppose it's in my closet in my parents' house somewhere, uh, but I do not know. Well, I'm not sure. Well, I do have fragments of it in other notebooks and such that I do know that I can read, but I wouldn't want to read them because they are just so utterly atrocious. But the bulk of the work is somewhere. But as I said, I have fragments of the thing. But yeah, to answer your question, Ahab, I started writing about 13. Uh, about maybe, I just attempted to write a novel twice actually, and it didn't really work out. And I started taking writing seriously when I was about 15 after I read George Orwell's Animal Farm, and then have been doing it so ever since, and I'm 20 now, so yippee. Okay, I guess I can read you one of these school stories. I have three of them. I'm going to be reading one. Maybe. We'll see. Funny thing is, too, Alf wasn't even the main character in that piece. It was actually the great great grandfather of Pee Wee Herman. For some reason, he was leading the expedition. Challenger was a background character, as was Summerlee. Uh, uh, yeah, well, I don't know how that's going to go through with. I'm not quite sure who exactly owns Alf, but trust me, if I could, I would. But yeah, I'll read one of these school stories here. Uh, One's called The Fool on the Hill, the other is called Wings, and the last one is called The Incident with the Coffee. Let me know which one you want me to read. I will have a vote, I guess. I'm just so overjoyed that I finally just figured this out yet at the same time. I feel so idiotic. Alright, so nobody's decided then, okay. Okay, the names are, the name of the first one is The Fool on the Hill, like the Beatles song. If I had it, I would. And then another one is called just simply Wings, and then the last one is The Incident with the Coffee, a very short story. And they're all pretty short, so they shouldn't take too long. Okay, so Ahab chose Fool on the Hill as his first vote and Wings as a second. So we'll see. Trust me, you'll know. You know what? How about this? I'll read all of them. I'll read all of them for you. They're not that long. I'll read them from shortest to longest, and I will sort of whet your appetite for what for what I was like when I was publishing with my school newspaper back when I was 17, 18, thereabouts. Okay, so this first one is called The Incident with the Coffee, as I said, a very short story. Published the 1st of December 2017 by Miles Estrada, writer, parentheses fiction. There had been a rather stately woman of respectable age who lived with her especially particular husband in Devonshire. Oh, by the way, these stories are a wee bit overwritten, so forgive me if I slip up. That's just how they are. And they had lived together in perfect sanguinity, though her husband had the displeasure of possessing a particularly short temper. His temper had been practised exceedingly when in the wake of his wife, usually being expressed when he was cross at not getting his way. When the stately little woman happened to fulfill his persistent demands, those occasions being very few in number, he would greet her with well-deserved countenance, and when she failed to do so, his demeanour would be entirely irascible, the countenance having been exchanged for a churlish objurgation, the latter being particularly evident during breakfast. There's a lot of particulars in this. I understand that if I were to actually publish this, I'd have to edit this down. When the woman would pour a cup of coffee for her husband, she would make sure to fill it to the brim, as that was how he liked it, and she would be ever so conscious of the coffee being at that level. But when she brought it out to her husband, as the coffee was exceedingly hot, and the cup very cold, he would receive a half cup rather than a full one. At the sight of this, he would promptly shout, "I thought you filled this cup." And she would say, "I did," imploringly. But that would not be the end of it, as the man would make it clear that he'd better get a full cup next time, or else. And she, as she would not think of divorcing him, such a thing under him was inconceivable, could do nothing more than endeavour to appease him, making sure to refill the coffee upon its dispensation. This story is like 2 paragraphs. This is the last one. One morning, when the stately woman had not gotten up from bed yet, her husband having been up since 5 o'clock, who couldn't wait any longer for his coffee, and now who thought that the only way to get things done properly was to do them himself, that was a run-on sentence, wasn't it? Had gone over to the kitchen to pour himself his own cup of coffee, making sure to fill it to the brim. In his mind, he knew that if his wife could not get this sort of thing right, he could. However, about a minute after pouring his coffee, he was all but taken aback in profound disbelief and surprise upon seeing that the coffee had greatly evaporated, it being as exceedingly hot as it was, and the cup itself very cold, leaving only half a cup behind. When the stately woman had finally gotten up and reached the kitchen, she was met by her husband, who, now entirely repented for the invidious matter of many a morning, said, with an air of congeniality, "I know what you mean." Yes, indeed. Funny thing, actually. That's the end of the story, by the way. Funny thing, actually. When I went to college, yes, I went to college for about 6 months out of my, I suppose, year 12 of school. One of my stories, incidentally, one of the phone zombie ones, or no, not one of the phone zombie ones. One of them, I noticed that, well, actually, quite a few people, because it's a short story writing class I went to, and they had you workshop a story with various different people and such, and give their opinions and all that, all the rest of it. And so basically they noticed that I used the word presently quite a lot. Like I would say, his fork, which presently resided at his side, and that he presently looked at the I don't know, the minutiae in the room, and that and the conversation was presently taking on this or another sort of an. It was ridiculous. It really was. So trust me, it was a. But yeah, that was what happened to the coffee, incidentally. Funny story, actually. That actually is a true story. My grandfather, when he would ask for a cup of coffee from my grandmother, would yes, indeed. When he would ask for a cup of coffee, she'd pour it for him, but the cup was too cold, coffee too hot, it evaporated. I'm not sure how that works, but that's just how it works. So that was the first story, very short. Now the second story, Wings, I will read, is a bit longer, not much though, but oh, there is, oh dear. Okay, well, on my end or your end? Oh, well, I guess, I don't know whose end it's on. I'm assuming it's on your end, but whatever. Let's work. No, no, trust me. I actually, when I titled this story, I had the Ringo Starr song in mind. Trust me. But anyway, let's move on with this story. It's a bit unconventional in the fact that, it's narrated in a different sort of a way. You'll see what I mean by that, by different sort of character. You'll see. Anyhow, Wings, by me, published the the 13th of October, 2017. My brother Gainsborough had persisted to the rest of us in the nest that he absolutely hated his wings. Unlike us, he had been born with a pair that was not exactly made to measure, for they were far too small in constitution, even for infant willow wrens like ourselves, which protruded out from his flanks rather than folded down over them, making him look like an apple on its side. And for this he was rebuked by the jeering sparrows and grass, being called such names as strange fruit, amputee, and gaudy gourd. Therefore Gainsborough came to loathe these feeble little vestiges, deeming them useless, and saying that he would have been better off with none at all. To this his sisters Gwendolen, Ambit, and Jordan, and of course myself, his only brother, expressed that he ought to embrace the facet of his wings, for that they were, no matter how incongruous they had seemed to him, or for what they were, rather. Jesus. Like I said, these were written a long time ago. But it was supposed to say, embrace them for what they were. Whatever. Gwendolen related to him that with them he could travel out from the Thames Valley to far-off lands like Australia, China, Egypt, and South Africa, providing a splendid change of scenery. Ambit said that he could track down a mate with them effortlessly, for he had no voluminous plumage of his own. But these would work just as well. Jordan professed that he could easily navigate through inextricable brush of the wood, as his little wings were not as officious as ours. And I simply told him that with them he was the most unique-looking bird in all England, keeping a feigned sense of confidence as I said this, as my enthusiasm for the subject was all but nil. However, being overwhelmed with these multitudinous possibilities, again a bit wordy, Gainsborough contemptuously dismissed them, stating that he'd sooner have them clipped than having to look a fool all round the world, and we all dispersed throughout the nest, a little frightened at our brother's sudden objurgation. I seem to use that word a lot, objurgation. It's not necessarily used too much nowadays, but I like it. What was that? Oh, okay. Let me know if you heard an eagle, because I got a text message. Did you hear an eagle or nothing? I don't know. Either way. The next day, Mother had gathered us all round the centre of the nest. Wait a second. No. I'm too far there. Potentially dismissed them, and he'd sooner have them clipped than all round the world. And we all dispersed in objurgation. Little did he know that he would have to learn to use his wings, for Mother would teach us all to fly the following morning, and she had every intention of seeing to it that we all got out of the nest. There we go. All right, well, it wasn't too loud, was it? You didn't blow out your eardrums or nothing, did it? All right, well, I don't know if I should count that. I guess if it wasn't a screech, then I won't count it. So good. Okay, back to the story. Wonderful. The next day, Mother had gathered us all round the centre of the nest and said that today we were all to fly. Of course, our course was very simple. We were to propel ourselves from the old willow that served as our home to a newer, healthier-looking beech tree that just lay across from us. My sisters and I were all chirping excitedly at the prospect, but Gainsborough was a trifle apprehensive, not making a single sound. And soon enough, Mother was ready to push us one by one out of the nest with her great beak. First was Gwendolen, who fell about halfway down before she began to flutter feebly upward, making it to the beech tree with ease. Then Ambit, who struck herself up 3/4 of the way down and flapped feverishly over to the beach, alighting upon it successfully. After that was Jordan, who took up flight 1/4 of the way down and picked up with rapidity, landing across with the rest of her sisters in hardly any time at all. all the girls learned to fly. Now it was time for the boys. I was next, and flew all the way over to the beach without faltering the least bit. Finally came Gainsborough, who the girls and mother had every bit of faith in, though I could see his obvious displeasure in the endeavour. Needless to say, that's also a very okay. If it counts, then I'm doing it. Or well, Ahab says it counts, but okay, fine. Then we're doing it. There. See that? You can barely see it. Let me make it bigger. You see it now? There. Okay. Where was I? Needless to say, it was found out that somehow Gainsborough secretly clipped his wings in the night. I don't know how he would do that, but and naturally, after being pushed with Mother's big beak, he fell straight to the ground and lay there languidly. Mother and my sisters all chirped incessantly, imploring him to get up, as if oblivious to this clandestine mutilation. However, try as he might, or as they might, they simply could not cajole Gainsborough to stir. In truth, he seemed oddly happy to be in such a dismal state of affairs. He didn't even notice the minute rivulets of shimmering crimson, what a cliché, gushing out from the small stumps that used to be his wings, as the girls and mother, for she thought him every bit capable of saving himself, chattered in lacrymal supplication. Gainsborough flashed an infinitesimal smile across his face. He would be deprecated no longer. And then a fox leapt forth from the bushes onto the place where he lay, and ate him up in a single gulp. Serves him right. Okay, well that was Wings. Bit of a stranger type of a story there. So yeah, okay. Yes and no. Sometimes, like in the last stream, I had read a story called Cicadas, and you said that it had Lovecraftian themes to it. When I originally wrote that story, I did not have that in mind. I guess I did it subconsciously. With this one in particular, I was trying to get a message across. Like you appreciate who you are, and despite all your infirmities and everything like that, else you'll, in the end, not succeed and evidently end up with somebody's dinner. Ah, yes, indeed. Very well. And the reason why I chose birds, I don't know. Uh, I don't know really of any stories. There probably are stories that are told by animals, but I thought it would be fun to play around with, just to see. Anyhow, I'm going to be reading the last story here, The Fool on the Hill, and then after that, I guess we could just chat for about maybe an hour or so. We'll see. And then maybe I'll make dinner, and I don't know, eat and chat, whatever. So, The Fool on the Hill, published November the 9th, 2017. Now this one is really wordy. I don't know about that, but we'll see. But now this one is real wordy, and I may trip up during this one. God, I don't know, but we'll see. Anyway. Of late in the town of Hertfordshire, which had its foundations set on an expansive patch of greenery that looked up at the first insinuations of the Welsh Black Mountains, there had been a brief feverish period of upset, the source of which was primarily attributed to an anomalous tradition that was in turn adopted by the town without its consent, in which every night someone, whose identity was kept anonymous, went out of the town's limits to ascend the premier Black Mountain with the intentions of inscribing a garish message in cotton bandages about its crown, only for the message itself to be seen by the whole of the town's populace the following morning. These missives would often be quite frivolous in their constitution, taking on the forms of miscellaneous arrangements of numbers, the most common of which being the number of whatever given year it had happened to be at the time, starting at 17 for the year 2017, going up to the present year 38 for 2038, and in anticipation for many more years to come, or even of intricate figures and designs, the likes of which acquired a particularly punctilious eye, to create, such as depictions of the constellations, queer mythological creatures of ancient Greece, grotesque characters from the works of Poe, Lovecraft, Le Fanu, and the like. In the extreme, this banal custom might seem to anyone innocuous, and was generally regarded as such by a majority. Okay, I need to unplug this because it's just making a lot of noise. By a majority of the townsfolk, though there were few persons who found the matter holy, though there were a few persons who found the matter wholly irksome. And perhaps the most churlish of these individuals was one Miss Wimbley. Now, for many years, Miss Carol Wimbley had been the most respectable and good-natured woman in all Herefordshire. She had come down there from Canterbury in the 90s of the last century, and had been an absolute pleasure of everyone's existence in the town ever since. She was of a stately stratum, substantial build, and raven's visage, and was of a generally sanguine character when in the company of others at tea and garden parties. Of her proclivities they were a veneration. She was perhaps the most devout person in town, attending sermon every Sunday at the cathedral station near the north head of it, and her most collegiate of relations were had with Reverend Schofield. It was with him that she shared her confidences of spurn for the routine decoration of the hill, and daily visitations were made to his house because of this, and for the fact that she was a very lonely woman as well. And when she was not with the Reverend or out appealing to the participation of myriad hosts and hostesses, she would be shut up in her house at the very edge of town, in close proximity of the cathedral, reading through the works of Chesterton, Lewis, Perkins, and other renowned theologians of days gone by. But all in all, her chief vocation was to assuage her temper of the aforementioned custom in every which way she knew how. The custom itself, in truth, did not at first perturb Miss Wimbley. In the early years of its practice, back when the arrangements on the hill were more ingenuous in nature, she had thought the business all very well and fine. In fact, one may say that she found them perfectly ingenious. There was one occasion where she made an indefatigable effort to locate the very creator of these queer malformations, so as to share with them her pleasantries. Her endeavours were of no avail. It was in the latter years, the years in which she succumbed to senility, that Miss Wimbley had come to loathe the contorting cloths of the Black Mountain. When she turned 70 in 2028, the arrangements miraculously started to take on new, unsavory forms, the likes of which were often portentous, even a tad lewd in some cases. These invidious illustrations varied in constitution, from the numbers 666 to tantric ignudi of men and women. Of all of them, Miss Wimbley had detested these the most, to the limpid likeness of Beelzebub himself, making up the general compendium thereafter. I realize now that I should have just included Lovecraftian, or no, I guess I did, whatever. And though the people of Herefordshire took little notice of them, they thinking that the contortions haven't metamorphosed in the slightest, Miss Wimbley had communicated her revolt of them to Reverend Schofield. Of his opinion on the matter, he was all but indifferent, despite the implications of the devil. He was an Anglican reverend, and, with the sagacious nod of his leonine head, would assure Miss Wimbley that eventually, good Lord, without promptitude, the whole fuss would dissolve. Miss Wimbley would have to settle with this adventitious injunction relating to the reverend that she would try and wait it out. But on the interior, this is a cliché, a blatant cliché, her rampant coal fire of detestation burned with a special radiance, more so than others of her distinction, though to be fair, their coal fires were all but reduced to charred, flaky embers, having been lulled by the consoling words of the reverend, making them supercilious to the subject as a whole. And she vowed that she would live to see the day when this imprecation was wholly eradicated, even if she had to bring it on herself. Little did she suspect that her call for change would be answered far earlier than she anticipated. On the first night of June, when Herefordshire was vacant of mischief, the moon was unusually low to the ground, and the contortionist, whoever he was, came out of his house at the southern end of town to make his nightly arrangement. The present design on the Black Mountain was that of a child, a boy, rather crudely set up, with his head cut off. Very funny indeed, especially at the time when schools were let out. And the contortionist had devised for this night something special. Death of a kitten, a boot stomping on the thing's head in all its gruesome detail. Yes, it was this that he intended to engender. He even brought extra bandages and a pot of red paint so as to create a malefic ambience. With this thought in mind, he scampered across town, passing the cathedral at the town's head, and ascended the hill with every bit of caution that he could muster. Upon cresting it, he began to disassemble the cadaverous boy, disinterring each bandage well enough. Then he started his work on the moribund cat. But alas, he only lived long enough to finish off the accoutrement of the boot, not the actual kitten, for in the night they rung a clangorous profundo, followed by a wretched falsetto, and a tremendous peal of smoke permeated after the fact. The air was redolent of shot and blood. Almost done here. The following morning, a Sunday, a man on his way to sermon had chanced upon the hill, and noticed from afar that its arrangement was incomplete, an amorphous figure of some sort lying beside it. He perceived it to be all but dead. With the circulation of this intelligence, the whole populace of the town flocked over to the hill to bear witness to the contortion, half complete, a pot of red paint tipped over and spilt out onto the grass, and the prostrate body of the Reverend Schofield, his black muslin souse with blood from his leonine head. I don't know why I make a point to say that his head was leonine. You don't even get to see him all that much. He was shot, by whom no one could surmise, but there were two things that were unassailably certain, of which that they were unassailably certain. One, the tradition would hitherto be put to stoppage. And two, Ms. Carol Wimbley, the appointed leader of the few who despised this whole business, was nowhere in sight. And that's The Fool on the Hill. I've realized that that story could have been better, but I was going for a short, simple piece. Either way, that's it. Why, thank you very much, Ahab. I try very much to keep at it, even though I must say that that story really was not. I was not on top of my game too much, but thank you very much. Is it? Well, let's hope that I don't know we can get that working anyhow. So yeah, now I guess this whole all it needed was Alf. Yes, indeed, Alf, and perhaps maybe some embellishment on the other members of that group that hated the contortionist. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I guess we'll go until this phone runs out of battery. But I have it charging, so we'll see what happens. And we'll just you can just ask me whatever questions you want, and I'll wait for more people to come in if they do come in. No, I didn't end up seeing Paddington because apparently this house does not have a DVD player, to my knowledge, and my laptop, this little thing here, does not have one either. I do have a DVD player on my bigger laptop, which I will maybe bring over next week, but I will try and see Paddington here pretty soon. Don't you worry. I will, trust me. Okay, I guess, let's see. I guess I can make dinner. I'm a little bit hungry. Sure, we'll do that. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna get the fixings ready for dinner. Feel free to get your questions through. Let's see if I can just take that out of there. And then, okay, that stuff is room temperature. Okay. There's the plate. Dump this all onto there. And then, let's see, I think 5 minutes will do it. Alright. Will it now? I sure hope so. That is a very interesting question. Let us see. I wouldn't say I was ashamed in getting into it, but back when I was real little, like when I was still in single digits, I used to collect what were called littlest pet shops, and essentially what they were was they were little like figurines of animals with a little bobblehead on top of them, and magnets on their feet to where I don't know you could connect the spaces or whatever or something. But I collected a lot of them and such when I was real little, but nothing, I don't know. No, I never tap danced, really. I never, I'm totally incompetent in dancing. Uh, I just, I cannot dance, but anyhow. Really? Well, I think the closest thing they made to a roach was like spiders or crickets. I don't even know. But yeah, I had like about maybe 80 of them, or maybe even more than that. I had like a whole bin of them. But then I did a very stupid thing. Some people were renting out the master bedroom. I'm going to tell you what happened to them. Some people were renting out the master bedroom of my parents' house for about a half a year, and they had brought their children over, very young children, all girls, and I had decided to, play with them and such, and brought down all the littlest pet shops to the underneath the house. The house like that, and underneath there, it's also very dirty in some places. Like there's a ledge here with just there's concrete, but then there's nothing but dirt. So I had them play with them. Mind you, this was 6 years ago. And then basically, once they had, decided they were done, I got lazy and just kept forgetting to bring them up. And for about the course of 4 or 5 years, they started to accumulate dirt in all the crevices of their being, and started to get blown around in the elements and stepped on by me and maybe eaten by animals and such and all that. And they were not in very good condition by the time I decided to bring them up. I brought them up just like a year or two ago. And yes, indeed we do. Trust me. It's not good. It's no good. Don't we all? Let's see. And then I decided to put them in like a little flower pot or something upstairs. He did well. Interesting. Anyway, but I decided to put in like a little flower pot upstairs, outside, of course. And this was during Halloween or other. And the pot was like about this high, full of pets. And by the time Halloween was over, it was about this high. And I was like, what the hell? Why'd you take them, you bloody kids? I mean, they're not treats for you. By the way, we don't take trick-or-treaters because, frankly, we want the night to ourselves. So yeah, that's about it. But that's what happened to the things there. I don't know if I can think of any other fads, really, that I got into. And that's dinner, so I will go ahead and get it, and maybe, I don't know, eat it for you on camera, whatever. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ourselves a fork. This is probably like the nicest meal I've ever eaten on one of these things. And I'm sure you're going to be drooling. I'm afraid. Let's see. Really, we treat it like any other night of the year. We don't really do anything. We just, sit around, tend to our own devices, and that's about it. Not much do we do on Halloween. And these are Red Lobster leftovers of shrimp, and a whole bunch of shrimp, and this fettuccine stuff with shrimp in it. Either way, yeah, that's it. So yeah, other than, I mean, I guess we would watch like a Halloween special. Oh yeah, my brother and I would watch Halloween specials. I believe the Garfield one, and yes, there's no actual lobster here. It's just shrimp because I'm cheap. You know I'm joking. Either way, yeah, Brandon, or my brother and I would. Watch the Halloween special, like the Garfield one. I think even it's a great pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and I think that's it. Mm. But like every other night of the year, that's what Halloween was. And then maybe I'd try to read something like horror themed. I don't know. Other than that, nothing really. It's a bit of a strange thing here because I like all of them equally, but for different reasons. Uh, in terms of songwriting, I like John the best. In terms of musical composition, I like George the best. In terms of, oh my God, you're gonna hate this one. You're gonna hate this one, Ahab. In terms of voice, I like Paul the best. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I am sorry. I and in terms of just like general sound and rhythm and such, I like Ringo. And I've listened to most of Ringo's stuff either way. So yeah, but those are the Beatles. Oh dear, that ain't good. Yeah. Yeah, I'm of an unpopular opinion. I actually do like Ringo, and either way. I wouldn't say that, but they do look a bit uncanny and such. No, I wouldn't really say I would want to punch them, but either way. I don't know, it's strange because I believe, I think I answered this question. If not, I'll answer it here. Worst person. Okay, very well. But worst person, I actually like that song. I'm sorry, but I actually do like that song. Oh, either way, the worst person I ever met and why. Um, I believe I told you this. The girl who is actually the subject of my first novel. Uh, she, uh, if there were two words to describe her, they would be indifferent and defiant. Because, she did not necessarily get on well with anybody really in school. She was bullied mostly by her peers and teachers and everything like that. So I thought I may as well be the protector of her and such and stuff. And then I sort of long story short, I ended up trying to make her my girlfriend and all that because I was attracted to her. It didn't work out, and all of a sudden I started to culminate a sort of madness over the whole thing, and just so much stuff. The police were phoned and everything. It's crazy stuff. And the funny thing is, we weren't even in a relationship. That's what most people don't understand. I mean, or a romantic relationship, that is. We weren't even, whatever. I don't want to talk about her, but that's probably the worst person I met. Hmm. Let's see. Somebody who is dishonest, obviously. Somebody who is inflexible, and I guess if they tend to make me feel horrible, like if they tend to depress me, that's also another thing. So there's that there. I believe most people, including chicks, uh, nobody really hates it. I'm not sure. I never noticed, but I guess. Well, to tell you the truth, I'm still single, so that should tell you something. So, ladies, if you are interested, yes, I'm sure everybody I've encountered does. Uh, so yeah, as far as I know, it's fine. Yes. I think what I'll do is maybe in 2 weeks I will announce another stream, and then this time I'll get it right. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll have to see what happens, I guess. Whatever. Well, I never thought of it in that sense, but yeah, I guess you could take it that way. Let me get myself a napkin. In truth, I should have done this beforehand, but either way. In recent times, let's see. Well, worst, I suppose you could say, technically speaking, would be like the last Predator movie that they did. back a couple years ago. You know, the one with the autism kid. And I'm not trying to offend anybody, but you know, that one. It just wasn't executed very well and such, and I don't know. It was kind of hokey, really. But I can't really think of any sort of bad movie I've seen. Uh, and of course, you know, the dialogue and such was rather inane and everything. And just like, oh. I know it's stupid. I know. Hey, have you read the script and said that you know they were? I think they were going to have Arnold come back. Maybe I don't know, but I'm sure that whatever was in the original script would have made a better movie than what actually came out. I don't know. I can't eat these tail skins. Okay. So it did. Wonderful. I guess we'll go until 7 o'clock, whatever. Okay. I don't have anything going on tomorrow. I got Monday off. I'm sorry to say, but I do. Uh, let's see. The worst book I've read in terms of like how it made me feel was The Stranger by Albert Camus. Now, the book itself is completely fine. It was written well, you know, the story did what it was supposed to do, everything like that. It's just that it made me feel so worthless and depressed that I didn't want to continue with it. And I actually had to read it for a class. Yeah, just a wee bit, yeah, although I never haven't read the script. But I suppose, as I said, the worst book technically that I've read was, I have a review for this somewhere on this channel, was November by Gustave Flaubert. That book was so tedious, yet it was like paper thin, you know, it went on forever, it ran on sentences and way too many unnecessary just verbiage and all of that, that really it got away from the story and was otherwise an insufferable experience. So, yeah, those I believe are the worst books I've read in recent memory. I did. And I think it's because after reading it, I was confronted with the news that my first novel, which remains unpublished but will most likely be published by the end of this year, maybe, I don't know, I'm still looking for a publisher. Uh, he said, this anonymous editor said that I had 2/3 too many adjectives. And I think maybe that's why I hated the book so much, because I had that mindset. But now I'm confronted with this other person who is reading the book and thinks I should stick those adjectives back into it. Just to, you know, for art's sake. Uh, so, yeah, now I really don't know what to think about the book. But I guess it did go on forever, really, and for what little story there was, it was pretty forgettable. Yeah. Wait, Desert Island. I don't know what that is, but I don't know. I think I hit the skin. Let's see. All right. This phone's running down, but it's running down rather slowly. Either way, I'll go until this thing is almost dead. Don't know when that'll be, but I'll go. I still don't know what this Desert Island, one book, one movie, one person is that you're referring to, Ahab. Oh, wait a second. Maybe, no. This must be the delay in the chat that you were talking about. Maybe, I'm not sure. Okay. Let's see. One book. Well, now that I have it with me, I would say probably this massive tome, Varney the Vampire, just to actually see what it's like. But then, as I said, it could be total rubbish. I don't know. Maybe Les Mis or Proust, something like that. Or, I believe Michael said in the last stream, maybe the Ranger's Handbook or something like that, so I could actually learn how to survive there. One movie? Oh, God. Oh, yeah. I think I know. Peter Jackson's King Kong. Just because it's so long and I like it so much and I find it immersive. But I'd take the extended cut because there's more to it. And I can watch some features. And one person? That's a difficult question. One person. Would this person be living or dead? Let's see. I guess, either living or dead. Okay. Let's see. I guess dead. Maybe Bob Hoskins, because he's such an underrated actor. And I actually like him quite a lot. And living, I'm still going to go with Sam Neill, because he's such an underrated actor as well, and I like him a lot. So probably those two fellas. Yeah, that would be fun, yeah. So maybe you could take some seaweed or kelp or whatever. So, yeah, he would with the New York accent and then that yellow suit of his when he was in the club. Fun fact, actually, I just figured out recently that George Clinton sung or covered Walk the Dinosaur by Was Not Was for that film a few months ago. I just figured that out, that it was actually George Clinton. I didn't, I mean, I didn't correlate it at the time, but yes, it would always be Mario. I'll be right back. I'm going to take this up and toss it. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, that still is strange. I mean, I could kind of see why you would make that assumption because, like you said, like Ahab said, he saw Bill Clinton playing the saxophone on TV and everything, and and they obviously have the same surname. So, yeah. And as for teeth, I mean, I don't know if he's got quite jacked up teeth. I mean, let me look this up. I need to actually look this up and see. George Clinton. Who's George Clinton? I'll just look him up. Okay. Where the hell? Oh, I guess maybe a little bit. I'm not sure. uh, he must have had them fixed or something. He's got enough money. By the way, yeah. Oh dear. By the way, oh, hang on. I gotta respond to this text or I know to respond to this text message. Uh, I don't know if it'll. You know what? I'll do it later. Lovecrafty achieved. I don't know about that. Okay, one more screech. Would you call it a screech or a vibration? Either way, there. But yeah, I guess I don't know. They're a bit more to the front than you. They're not like, or they're maybe like Freddie Mercury's teeth or something. I'm not sure. I don't really take the time to study famous musicians' teeth. I don't know if that's a thing or not. Huh? Let's see. Okay, I'll go until 7 o'clock. So yeah, I guess for 10 more minutes. Oh no, not 10 more minutes. Yeah, as I said, 7 o'clock. Let's see. Huh. That is interesting. Let me see. Okay. Uh, uh, oh my God. Jesus, I'm blanking. One thing that I believed in that I found out was the truth and felt dumb. Oh yeah. For some reason, I always thought that Guadalajara was underwater. I don't know why, but I always thought that it was like Atlantis. It was sunk there, and it would never to be found. But I guess now it's well, not now. It's always been above surface level. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's one thing I could think. Uh, I don't know if I can think of really anything else. Well, I guess you could say, that girl's character, the girl I don't want to talk about. Oh yeah, that the Guadalajara. Yeah. Hang on a second. It's a big house I'm living in at the moment, so I have a lot of things to keep track of. Yes. I always thought that you could make a David Bowie cover of Starman, but use Lovecraft songs, and the chorus would be "The Doom of Sarnath." If you know what I mean, and then something or other like that, and then he would say "as in there, or something. I always thought that would be a good idea, but I don't know if it'll ever come to light. But yeah, Lovecraft and Bowie, that would make a great combination. I know that one Lovecraft poem, I forget which one. Yes, I would too. I know one Lovecraft poem, I forget which one it was, but one of them was like sung in the style of Billy Joel's Piano Man, and that's awesome, so yeah. But it's possible that it could happen, no. Either way. Okay. Huh. She's all right, I guess. I don't know if she would necessarily be my type, but she's adequate, I guess you could say. Um, she's a perfectly all right looking woman, uh, as far as I know. I actually forget what she looks like. Hang on a second. Let me actually look this up. What was Taylor Swift? Yeah, she just looks like a young Madonna, or Scarlett Johansson, or however you say it. Okay. Well, you know what? Okay. Actually, You know, in certain pictures. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Man, honor. I'm gonna go for. Mm, I guess she's hot. Yeah. If that will sate your appetite. Yeah. Well, I really don't know what to say because I don't really. I'm not about a woman's. I can just ring her back. I can just call them back. I don't know if you. Okay, one more. Straight down. Yes. I'm so sorry. I'm getting a phone call right now, but I'm trying to. Uh, they'll call back, or I can call. I can do it. They're kind of important, but either way. One more, then. There. And yes, that is my ringtone. So. What were we doing again? What were we saying? Let me see. I was gonna. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm not about looks. I just want to know if you have a good character in terms of a woman. You know, I mean, as I say, yeah, I guess to use the old expression, beauty is skin deep. I mean, if you're a good person overall, that's what I look for. I'm not necessarily fine with looks. You're being destroyed by funk. Well, in a game. Oh my god. Hang on a second. I'll call him back later. You know what? Actually, I'll do it. Two more questions, and then I'll have to end this stream because they're going to be persistent. Damn persistent. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of funk, yeah, another one. Damn it. Okay, there. 5. Okay, so 2 more questions and then I will sign off. That's a difficult question. Well, I would want, to be honest, but at the same time, I wouldn't want rejection. So let's see. Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I do love the funk. So, and yeah, I mean, well, if I'm wanting to keep this girl, I would not tell her. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'd let her down easy and just kind of tell her at a moment when there's not too much going on and everything, and that'd be, you know, the end of it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Either way, last question from Guntik. Maybe then I'd tell her. Maybe then I'd tell her. All right. That would be a deal breaker for me. I'm not interested in that sort of experience myself, but yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be interested in that. I turn it down right away. All right, one more question from, I guess, either of you. Then I'll shut this thing off. Yes, indeed. People have been saying that for years. It still hasn't happened yet. It very well could. Yeah, he will, and you better believe that he'll go live on television like at every single like I don't know UN meeting and everything. He'd be funking it up. No, I don't get involved in politics. I really don't. It's when I hang out with an octopus. Yeah, they're fairly fascinating animals. Suppose I would. Yeah, I guess I would consider doing that. Sure, hanging out with an octopus. Exactly. Yes. Uh, indeed. Oh yes, that's right. You are a young uh, squid face or octopus face or whatever. All right, sounds good. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm going to I'm going to make that phone call, and I'm going to try. Yes, Alpha President too. I'm going to try and see about another stream in 2 weeks' time. Maybe let everybody else know and try and be successful like I was last time, or like I was this time, so we can get everybody to come. Uh, I appreciate all of you or you both coming to this one, but I'll try and be more proficient in that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and if I can, and thank you, and you all have a good night.